Do you find yourself relying less on recruiters or executive search or anything like that because of it? Because if you're putting it out there openly to the team.
In my experience, we have gotten more referrals than we have anywhere else I've been before. The reality is in our industry, in the print industry, the talent pool is shrinking. People are aging out. Fewer people are entering, particularly around the sales and service parts, two of the most critical parts of our business. There are more people sort of aging out or exiting the industry than are entering.
Got it.
So we do find that we do have to cast a much wider net, regardless of the circumstances of the departure, or the vacancy.
Here we are having some fun with Josh Britton. Josh is the CEO of imageOne, a good friend company of Oxium here. So thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Excuse me.
I have that effect on people.
You do. Yeah, you take my breath away. It was funny. I reached out to Rob,
Dubay.
Rob Dubay, your founder, who we did the podcast together. We've known each other for a long time. And I said, Rob, who do you know that should be on a podcast this year with me? And he says, well, maybe I'm a little biased, but I think Josh. I said, oh my gosh, Josh would be awesome. And just for so many reasons. I mean, I think it's just so cool, how imageOne has kind of gone through its story arc and different transformations and whatnot. But especially that you're the company's first non-founder CEO. And so that's just always an impressive thing to have happen. And you're carrying the torch. And so I'm just so glad to have you.
Well, I appreciate it, Matt. Thank you so much. You may live to regret taking that advice from Rob, but thank you for
we'll see. We have great editing power here, though, so we'll make it look just fine. No, so actually the real truth is Josh and I, we met at the same barber. So we
that's right.
We go there all the time.
You're number one.
Fresh and clean.
That's right.
Yep. So another funny thing was as I reached out to Rob, and I got to kind of live out one of the principles. I'll say what everybody's going to learn today in our discussion is that you guys are a very mindful, purposeful organization of just very thoughtful people who take culture seriously, in your organization, and you really live it out. And it was just great how I got to see one of your kind of major tenets, which is mindful transitions, which we can explain. So got to see that play out. It was really cool.
Indeed.
So I call Rob and I say, hey, we do the whole thing about you should be on the podcast and whatever. And then the next day, my president, Catherine, says to me, hey, that interview, we got an interview with the imageOne guys. And I said, or an imageOne guy. And I go, yeah, what do you like reading my email or something here?
Right.
I think she's talking about your and my interview on a podcast. And it was someone from imageOne was applying for a job with us at Oxium. And so of course she knows that we're friends. And so she's like, hey, my MO is normally to contact my friend and say, hey, what should we do in such a situation?
Yep.
Right.
Appreciate that.
And thank you. And because of the process that you guys have or the way that you guys have, that wasn't even necessary.
Right.
So explain to people what mindful transition is, and then I'll finish this story up.
Okay. Sounds great. So the quick version is mindful transition really is built on the belief that we don't need a 2 weeks notice. Why throw the organization into disarray as well as, the remaining team members trying to pick up workload for someone who leaves? Why have the candidate or the person, the team member have to go through the doctor's appointments and the this and the that to try to sneak off interviews and whatnot? Let's just be open and honest. If something isn't working for either the organization or the team member, let's talk about why. Let's see if we can, solve for that. And if not, let's encourage and support each other with a mindful transition. So what that really means is it's out in the open. Hey, this person, and in your case, that particular individual who'd been with us for quite a while, was ready for his next challenge, his next opportunity. And we were supportive of that. And, as that role evolved, it made sense for us as well. And so rather than, kind of keep that elephant in the room quiet, we sort of shout it from the rooftops. What that allows us to do is that person can support us as we're working on trying to find a backfill, the next person, right? And we can support him through interviewing, connections, network. We can support the team member through resume building and support. Again, helping to put in our network out, this person.
Sure.
Because ultimately, especially if the team member isn't excited and thriving in the role, that person should be somewhere where they can be excited and thriving. We consider ourselves just someone stop on a journey. We're not the end all be all. And so we're big believers that we can do away with the 2 weeks notice. And that's the idea.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, what a play on the abundance mindset too.
Yep.
Right. So back to our exact story of this. So here I am, wrestling with, or just, essentially preparing. Here I've got to call Rob or I've got to call Josh and let them know about this. And I come into work the next morning and there's an email from your, I think Chris is your head of sales.
One of our sales reps.
One of your sales reps.
Yep.
And so I get this 1-page letter that basically says, Matt, you'd be crazy not to hire or at least highly consider this gentleman for this job. And I said, well, I guess they really do the mindful transition and everybody knows and everybody's it's in on it or it's out in the open or whatever. And so then by the time you and I talk next, I get to tell you this story instead of me coming to you going, gosh, I don't know what we should do. I knew that it was out in the open and I was like, Josh, I got to see mindful transition in action. So instead of the sneaking around, instead of all this, I get a letter, endorsing this person appropriately. And I just thought, wow, that was really cool that you guys really live out that cultural tenet that you preach on.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And yours is a wonderful story, especially this team member was with us for a very long time, has seen our organization go through many peaks and valleys, has been crucial, right, to our team through those peaks and valleys, and just so excited to see him excited, right, about this next phase of his journey. And it absolutely made my day, made my week hearing that, he was going to be joining you guys. When you told me about this and kind of told me this story, I was like, oh, this is perfect. But I do also want to highlight it's a two-way street. It's not just, we as imageOne sort of preach this thing and do this thing. The team member also has to be really comfortable saying, I'm going to be really vulnerable here. I'm going to express what's not working for me. I'm going to say, maybe I'm looking for something more, something different, without any promise of what the consequences of that might be.
Right.
And imagine, Matt, if you would come from a place where maybe that was not a rewarded behavior.
Sure.
Right?
Because unrewarded behavior in that sense is this person divulges this to you and you go, I got to backfill this position.
Now they're on the chopping block or
and
something
they're on
like
the chopping block
right.
And I got to get there first. So I'm not hurt by this.
So every team member that engages in our mindful transition program is really, I view it as they're showing a tremendous amount of courage because you never know what, people come from their own experiences.
Sure.
And B, just a real vote of confidence and trust in us to show up.
And uphold your end of the, and uphold your end of the bargain.
That's right.
That's fantastic. Yeah. You guys have put so much work into, to culture there.
Yep.
I met you. You guys invited me to a Small Giants event at your facility years ago. I know you're involved in the Tugboat Institute. I think you did some stuff with the U of M
Center for Positive
Organizations.
Yep.
And just like that, in addition to peer groups, industry groups, things like that. So kind of always learning, always out there. Let's first talk about these culture oriented organizations and maybe even back into the story with some of the genesis of that. Like what made Rob and his partner do, kind of pursue that. And I always asked Rob, like, was there some major event that made you, try to get all peaceful and, and calm and whatnot? And And he didn't really have like a one, like it wasn't like some, something major happened, bad or good to do so. He just said, you know what, I just knew I wanted to live my life differently.
Yeah. I don't know. It would be great if every story could be kind of wrapped in there was this acute event and that triggered this thing.
Right. Yeah.
Sometimes you kind of, there's always micro steps. You look up, you see where you are. And I will say, I know you had Rob on your I mean, one sentence out of Rob, you're going to more wisdom than an hour with me, but
baloney.
But I
he told me that he hired better than himself.
Well, there you go.
So no pressure.
Great. So what I will say is he may or may not have shared that if you flash back to imageOne's kind of origin story, and if you flash back to 2002, 2003, 2004, kind of in that time frame, actually Rob and Joel, who are Rob Dubay and Joel Perlman, who are co-founders and co-owners, they had actually sold the business at that point to a much larger organization that was in this space and was kind of aggregating a variety of other organizations, other companies, and kind of an acquisition spree. That is my telling of the story. I'm sure Rob will give you a lot more nuance, but my telling of the story is that acquisition came with sticking around for 2-3 years, as is often the case, right, with owners, founders. And in that time frame, the acquirer approached Rob and Joel about buying the business back. Reason being that there was a turnover at the C-suite level, and so a change of strategic direction. They're no longer investing in this space. And so Rob and Joel elected to do that. And really, I think part of what was born out of that decision in the years that followed was really a kind of a commitment to, we're going to build something really special. And that's really 2006, 2007 is when Small Giants was written by Bo Burlingham. He wrote the book Small Giants. And I think that really spoke to the guys that this is what we want to create. And then joining the Small Giants community that was born a few years after that, led by Paul Spiegelman, who's an amazing human, put Rob and Joel in sort of the sandbox with a lot of other like-spirited, like-valued companies and organizations that really believe in that principle of being great, not just big. Right.
And that's the whole premise of Small Giants.
The whole premise of Small Giants. And so that and a variety of other practices, which I'm happy to share about, have all kind of been introduced and ingrained into our DNA by Rob and Joel by virtue of that desire to say, we're going to build something very purposeful, very special. We're not just building something for another transaction.
Great. And so that's not been on your path since the concept of we're going to sell to a roll up, because there's a lot of rolling up in the managed services space
and ours as well,
and in the managed print space.
Big time. Yep. They're absolutely. Yes. I don't know that a day goes by that, and I'm in my seat as CEO. I'm not even a founder. I don't know that a day goes by that I don't get an email about soliciting and, hey, are you interested in selling? So I can imagine Rob and Joel probably get an order of magnitude more. And I know have for years. That is of no interest to us. I'll tell you, we have a 10-year vision. We build it with the entire company. Every 10 years, we build our vision. We did it 2.5 years ago. We look at December 14th, 2033. You parachute into our company, all hands company meeting, which is what that vision describes. One of the elements is that we are an employee-owned business. Our goal, our vision is to... You're
officially an ESOP?
No, that's our vision, to become an employee-owned, whether it's through an ESOP vehicle, there's a variety of others.
Excuse me.
Sure thing. A variety of other vehicles, but that's our intention. That's where we're headed. We want to thrive for the long term. We're part of, as you mentioned, Tugboat. One of the through lines of all the tugboat companies is they aspire to be evergreen, which is to live for 100 years.
Okay.
So we're a third of the way through that journey.
And what's the difference between Tugboat and Small Giants?
So there's a lot of overlap. You can kind of think of it as a Venn diagram. There's a lot of overlap there in terms of principle, people focus, balanced stakeholders, culture and values, all of that sort of stuff. Tugboat's membership, about 300 plus companies in Tugboat, a lot of them tend to be maybe a little bit bigger than Small Giants. So there are organizations that are revenue of hundreds of millions of dollars a year. There's several that are $1 billion plus. So what they demonstrate is they're living these principles at a scale, at a big scale, but very much aligned. And I would say numerous companies like ours are members of both communities.
Okay. And can you say how big you are? I don't care if you give us a number or an employee count, but like what is the What's the size of the organization that you guys run?
We've got a little under 70 folks.
Okay.
We're about 22 million in annual revenue.
Okay.
We've been around since 1991.
Okay.
So 35 years old or thereabouts, right? And we've got a decent amount of folks here kind of in the Southeast Michigan metro area, but then a sprinkling of folks throughout the country for a variety of reasons, including but not limited to some of our very largest enterprise customers. Mm-hmm. We have actual embedded technicians at their locations.
Got it.
And so you've got kind of this smattering of folks.
It's very similar to our model. We do a bit of that as well.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, good. That gives us a concept. You told me a little bit about your history too. Mm-hmm. So we talked a little bit about company history. Your history was you kind of started off in IT strategy work?
Yeah. Yep. I did. Yeah. So I started out post college. I went to Northwestern in Chicago. That's where I met my wife, and came out of that in consulting. This is back in the late 90s, sort of in the dot-com boom and all of that kind of good stuff. So I got into consulting very, very quickly. Loved doing that. Was on the road 45, 50 weeks a year. And that was really where I grew up. I grew up in strategy and management consulting.
Okay.
And did that actually through to moving here to Michigan from Chicago, 2007. And continued to do that for several years, and just started to kind of have this itch of, I love what I'm doing. I'm having a hard time feeling aligned to why I'm doing what I'm doing, maybe to help a client that's a public company, sort of I'm one of hundreds of thousands of people. Like why is what I'm doing matters? I kind of had that, a lot of us have that at maybe that stage of our career in our mid-30s, that sort of thing. And that directed me towards looking for opportunities that were more purpose-oriented. So how can I use the things I'm good at, the things I believe in, the things I'm passionate about, the skills I have, towards something that feels more to me like it makes a difference.
Sure.
And maybe a company's bottom line, shareholder, quarterly earnings, something like that. So that's what actually took me into the education space, where I managed operations for a large education nonprofit here in town.
And that was in the higher risk communities. What was
It sure was.
What was your organization?
Yeah. So Cornerstone Education Group, or nonprofit management company. We managed schools, K-12 schools, about 3,600 students across some of the higher risk areas of the city of Detroit.
Okay.
Really focused in on high need communities. And I guess I don't love describing what I do with what I didn't do, but probably the easiest way to describe it is I was responsible for everything non-teaching and learning.
Okay.
Right. So the academic part of that
was somebody else.
Was somebody else. Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm responsible for all things operations, IT, finance, et cetera, et cetera.
Yep. Security.
All of it.
Like
yeah.
That.
And really my mission was, how can I help deliver the best experience for our teachers and students and families the most efficiently? Because for every dollar that we can sort of optimize for is another dollar we can put towards teaching and learning. And so that felt really purposeful to me. Right.
To know that every dollar you're saving isn't just lining somebody else's pocket. It's actually going right
into the classroom. Yep. It's going into materials, going into education, it's going into teacher salaries, it's going into the teaching and learning.
That's cool.
Yep.
So how did you find imageOne? Or how did they find you?
So I was part of a COO forum.
Okay.
And so now we're dating back in, we'll call it about probably 10 years ago or so. So I'm there at Cornerstone. I was part of a COO forum of other COOs in town. We get together once a morning every month, once a month every whatever day it was for about half a day.
Sure.
Right.
Okay.
And Rob Dubay came to speak at one of those.
Okay.
Our facilitator would oftentimes, similar to a Vistage model, we'd spend some time issue processing, and then we'd also have someone from the outside speak on a topic like that. And I had at that time for several months been really intentional about, I'm looking for sort of the next place for me where I can make kind of this impact and do what I sort of did at Cornerstone.
And you loved printing so much.
I loved printing.
Big into paper.
My favorite thing to do at Cornerstone was to send documents to the printer and wait for the jobs to release.
Just smell the toner.
It was amazing.
Okay. So you found your
click,
purpose.
open the drawers, hear the clicks. It's great, right? So So I had put that out there, and one of the best humans I know in the world that I am blessed every day to call a friend and a mentor, Kevin Schneiders, who you know well.
Yes. Kevin has been here too.
He has. He was sort of a Sherpa for me through this process of going inward to think about what do I want that experience on that last stop of my career journey to be. That was my intention, my last stop on my career journey. And imageOne, who I didn't know anything about at the time, and it came up on that list as one that seems to play, an organization that plays in these sandboxes of this culture, people first orientation that I so loved, and Rob in particular, right? I actually had him on a list that Kevin helped me put together. And then lo and behold, he shows up a couple months later. I'd never met him at this meeting.
No kidding.
To talk to us about mindful leadership and meditation. And he actually took us through a meditation exercise. And I remember sitting there, doing the thing Rob has you, with the hands on your knees and going breathing. And I remember he's like, let the thoughts come in, let them go out. And I'm just thinking like, oh, this is awesome. I'm going to have coffee with this guy. This is great. It's meant to be. Like I'm, so I'm so excited. We end up connecting. He was a mentor for me for about a year before there were sort of organically and without intention an opportunity sort of presented itself at imageOne. So I view it similar to what you said about the mindful transitions at the outset. It was sort of this confluence of things that happened 1, 2, 3 that sort of meant to be. It felt very kismet to me. It still does.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. I don't know that I asked Rob or you that ever before.
Yeah,
so it's always fun when I'm hearing it for the first time right here.
I've been hearing a lot lately about the knock. When an employee knocks on your office door and says, "Got a minute?" and you immediately know it's some sort of IT incident. But Oxium IT can help. Whether you're having a problem, need consulting, an upgrade, or a managed IT approach, they focus on preventing cyber attacks and proactive solutions that deliver results. My friend Matt Loria and everyone at Oxium are ready to help before or after you get the knock. Visit Oxium.com and let Oxium IT help you outsmart chaos.
Let's see. I don't even know where I want to go with this. Obviously, we're in a similar business. You handle the thing that people hate the most, which are printers. Okay. But you're running also kind of a little bit of I would call it almost a startup inside of your organization. That's around business process improvement and a little bit of AI-ish sort of talk.
Yeah. That's right. Yeah.
Can you pause?
Sure. There we go. Sure. Okay. Yeah.
So kind of this startup, we had a little pause there for some coughs there and whatnot, but, talk about that a little bit and why it's so much fun or if it's or maybe it's not so much fun. I don't know. Mindfully talk about it.
Depends on the moment, right? So I think a little context probably would help. So I mentioned earlier on that we have a 10-year vision. We've been doing that since 2016, and our current 10-year vision contemplates we're evolving beyond print. Doesn't mean print's going away. Everybody's been saying it's been going to go away any minute since the mid 90s. It's not erasing tomorrow.
I have this. I write everything on it, but then I have a whole
thing over there. I see it all over there. Yep.
Yeah. Can't get rid of it.
And so, that has really been our core business, and our 10-year vision contemplates bringing at least one other sort of offering up to that level.
Okay.
Really evolving beyond the printed page, Matt, is essentially is the simplest way to describe it. And so when we built that vision together as a company, we didn't necessarily know exactly what that would be, but we embarked on a journey to explore a variety of options there, including at one point managed IT. And really where we landed on this IO Automate was in part because we looked inward at, well, what are we doing that's maybe different? And we had at that point been doing a variety of process automations, really born out of margin pressure, right? And the need to get creative about solving problems beyond just hiring more people.
Sure.
Right. And so we said, wait a minute, like we're experiencing this problem over and over and over again. How can we do more with less? And that's all we hear our customers talk about. So one thing led to another, and we really fell in love with really building out process automation. Again, taking you beyond the printed page, leveling people's skills in the process, which is really important to us. We do every day internally through our 2-second lean practice, among others. And so it just really resonated for us at a lot of levels. And it met some key criteria, such as being very much a growth industry. You know, print is not a growth industry. It's a mature industry.
Sure.
As well as, you know, strong, healthy, accretive margins and some other factors that pulled us into this. So we incubated this for about 2.5 years before we sort of started it with our first hire, right? And started building out the competency just under 2 years ago. So this has been a few years in the making. It is fun. It is hard. It is challenging. And it is absolutely like an intra startup or a startup within an existing organization for sure, which comes with benefits and challenges.
Sure. I mean, and in our space, I mean, we have to be an AI startup inside of an organization. Right. So we're doing very similar things to what you're doing. So it's a lot of fun. It's certainly getting me back to the whole startup roots.
Oh, that's right.
But interesting. But also I just like that, you know, you've told me before, like you drink the Kool-Aid first.
That's right.
Right. And so we say we're a dog food organization. We eat our own dog food. So very similar, you know, activities and thought patterns there. You know, back to our story of you though, with your own personal career, you also told me that you really weren't sure that you wanted to be a CEO, or maybe even like actually said, I don't want to be.
Yes. I definitely said that many times to my wife. I said that, you know, more than once, you know, to Rob and others. Hey, look, I'm a great number two. What I always wanted to be when I left Cornerstone, I wanted to go somewhere where I could evolve into a number two. You know, I think of in EOS terms, you know, maybe an integrator. Right. Might be a good, you know, example, or COO.
Sure.
Right. And be part of something special. But, you know, I had a very, very brief foray into kind of pure entrepreneurship with a little software company that I and a partner built. And I found it to be a very lonely experience, being, you know, by yourself in the room, debating with yourself. And I was like, I don't want to be the number one. Right. And so that always stuck with me. And when Rob and Joel approached me about succeeding them as CEO, I was, you know, flattered, but also pretty resistant. And I know if Rob were here, he would tell you I sort of dragged that timeline out as much as I could. And while it's been an absolute blessing, it doesn't come without its own moments of imposter syndrome.
Sure.
You know, and that sort of thing, which was pretty loud in my ear at that time.
Yeah, I'll bet.
Yeah.
It sounds like though that some of the way that you guys have orchestrated the organization and some of this planning is that you've made it a little bit less lonely in terms of you're bringing a lot of others along. And I want to make sure that we kind of do the double click on this one, which is this 10-year planning and how you say we do it as a company. Can you talk about like how is it that you do that as a company without almost too many opinions?
Yeah, sure.
Right? I mean, that's the thing that I think most people would start to hear that and go, how the heck do they do that?
The two things that people raise their eyebrows most about this practice that we have are what you just described, and maybe owners who don't want to be as vulnerable or maybe relinquish as much agency in decisions and direction. So more of a command and control type of mindset struggles in this. We're not experts in it, so we rely on experts for a lot of things. And in this practice, we rely on the folks at Zingtrain, who are amazing, down in Ann Arbor. And so they have a visioning process.
Zingtrain?
Z-I-N-G, Zingtrain. It's part of the Zingerman's family of companies. So Ari, I don't remember how long he and others launched Zingtrain, but it's a fantastic resource. I highly encourage folks to check it out. Very much oriented around the type of values we have, doing strategy, in this case, visioning, within the wrapper of kind of our values. So their approach is actually, you get about 16 team members of varying levels and parts of our organization. We all descended into their office in Ann Arbor. And it's a facilitated day and a half process, starting with a blank piece of paper. And you're sort of iterating through this vision. And then you spend the next 2 to 3 months bringing it to the whole organization, kind of through a set of sequential steps for people to have input. And we're just continuing to sort of iterate, refine, checking with the head, the heart, the gut. How does this feel? Does this make sense? Does this feel exciting? Does it resonate? And it is not to be confused with consensus, which tends to drive towards the most vanilla answer. But rather, it's everybody has the opportunity for input. Those 15 to 16 folks have a lot of agency for decision making. But of course, ultimately, myself, Rob, Joel, we're part of that broad group. And so we have to be really mindful about, where we put our thumb on a scale, or where we, how we articulate what's important, and make sure that nothing goes too far out of bounds.
Is there an example that you could give of something that maybe, I don't know, maybe caused tension in one of those engagements, or something where you said, I got to put my finger on the scale. I got to weight this more with the ownership side of things.
Sure. Well, I'll give you one. This may, So there's a couple. The employee ownership part was one where I wouldn't say it was contentious, but it was, hey, let's make sure this really is exciting for both the team and the owners, because there's a lot of other elements at play in setting that type of intention. How do they feel about being effectively out of, at least in part, if not in full, the business from a fiduciary standpoint within the next 10 years, things like that. So there can be some inward looking conversations. So we spent quite a bit of time on that, myself, Rob, and Joel, and seeing also where we aligned, or what's important to each of them and that. And making sure that we don't overprescribe in the vision exactly what it looks like, when it takes place, the exact structure. It's really about setting a vision, right? Another example is, we had folks who were really, really keen on, hey, we want to invest in robotics, right? We want to invest in, software, or we want to invest in doing, like EV battery repair or charging station repair. Like, there's all this tactical stuff.
Okay.
So part of the process, the facilitator is great at it, and this is part of my role, is help move us out of the tactical up into the sort of visionary. Listen, we don't need to prescribe every single thing. Like, what do they say, right? We make a plan and God laughs. We don't need to prescribe every single element. Let's set the intention. We want to be evolved beyond print. We want to be in a space that's growing, but we don't have to necessarily name what those are now. Let's just start looking for them. And let's start noticing. So those sorts of things sometimes can create some tension, because some people want more discrete clarity tactically.
I'm just already kind of feeling and thinking about, okay, you're really asking somebody to get out of the world that they normally think in, or the strata that they're normally thinking in, and pull it into a different one with,
can be very uncomfortable.
With discomfort I don't know what's going to happen next exactly.
Well, I don't know. I like that. I have no idea how we're going to get there. What's the plan, right? So it's in part bringing people along, not just the mechanics of setting a vision, but also what is and isn't a vision.
Well, and when you think about like a Rob, and I don't know how you think, comparatively speaking, obviously a bit entrepreneurial, because you had started something originally, but I know how I have a concept of how they think, right? That visioning is kind of just normal, at least for Rob. I don't know Joel, but I know for Rob, visioning is very normal.
That's right. Yeah. And, and for Joel as well. Right.
Okay.
So those are comfortable clothes, it's energizing. It helps ensure alignment, and make sure we're driven by the same motivation. We want to go to the same place. But I think when you're, Rob and Joel and maybe myself and some of our other executives, you're comfortable in that space knowing, well, we don't exactly have the exact plan. Q3 2029, here's what we're going to do to keep us on track as we sit here today, right? I think it can be harder in organizations when you sort of get maybe lower or to more individual contributor level or things like that in organizations where those folks, are so focused on, say, day to day, or that's not part of their role. It's a really different maybe muscle to flex. But what's so exciting is I can point to many things in the vision where it's like these ideas and pictures that are in our vision came from those folks on the ground who see things that we don't see, So it can be really powerful.
Yeah.
It can work in both directions.
Did you have anybody along the way who was like, I don't like this. I'm way out of my comfort zone. Get me out of this think group?
Good question. So preceding putting the think group together, we did have someone who I had some heart-to-heart conversations with her, and she really just wasn't aligned to motivated or driven to where we wanted to go. And we did a 1-year mindful transition with her.
Okay, great.
Yep.
You just put a timeline to a mindful transition there. Was that a timeline that you guys put in together, or was that just how long it actually took?
The former. So we worked. Everyone is unique. So, what do we need? What do you need? In this particular case, it was a complicated leadership role. It was not an easy replacement. She agreed and committed to her credit, to staying with us for an extended period of time. We wanted to make sure we gave her plenty of runway thereafter, right? So that she didn't feel that pressure of like the moment we sort of had her replacement in place, that she had 2 weeks to find something.
Oh,
right. So
okay.
it's very much by design. So all of it is very intentional.
So essentially, I mean, maybe this is too much information, but
sure.
In that particular situation, if you found the person in 6 months, you were committed to, if she needed another 6 months of runway,
That's right.
that the company was willing to do the investment there to say,
That's right.
No, you're not going to be non-productive at all. Or was it like, okay, even if you just need a 6 months of severance, or was it like,
no,
you're
it'd
still
be like,
here,
keep work,
you're
keep helping
still
us.
working.
Yeah. That's right. Yeah.
Because I mean, you're still a small organization.
Yeah.
To absorb a,
that's right.
a long tail like that would be a little onerous. So.
And look, I'm not, if for those who are doing the math at home, like if you practice the mindful transitions at scale the way we do, it is a more expensive practice.
Sure.
Right.
It would have to
on
be.
balance, it's going to be more expensive. So you have to decide what your priorities are. Does it break the bank? No. I would argue also it's a much better experience for the team members that are left behind, right? That have to pick up the slack of the work and so on. They don't have to deal with that. And when it works famously. And as long as everybody, upholds their part of the deal, it's a beautiful thing. But from a financial standpoint, there's more often than not, you have, a couple people overlapping for a longer period of time than you would if, a lot of times you wouldn't have
it
any.
lowers the surprise.
But
right?
So
there's your risk reward type
mistakes,
of
defects, errors, stress, all those things. How do you quantify that? It's really either you believe in it or you don't.
Yeah. Do you find yourself relying less on recruiters or executive search or anything like that because of it? Because if you're putting it out there openly to the team, like, hey, Susie's leaving. This is a mindful transition. We're going to give it this extended period of time.
That's a great question. Yeah.
And if everybody's mind starts working on this, does the network just kind of come together?
Here's what I'll tell you. We, in my experience, we have gotten more referrals than we have anywhere else I've been before. And I think that's because we tend to do less urgent hiring, I'll call it, right? Like we need someone tomorrow.
Right.
That said, it still happens. There are still cases where that happens.
I would have to imagine.
And this is one where the reality is in our industry, it is in the print industry, that talent pool is shrinking. People are aging out. Fewer people are entering, particularly around the sales and service parts, two of the most critical parts of our business. There are more people sort of aging out or exiting the industry than are entering.
Got it.
So we do find that we do have to cast a much wider net, regardless of the circumstances of the departure, or the vacancy.
So you probably have a lot. I mean, that sounds like there would be a lot of tie into, what we keep hearing in the manufacturing world, right? Is that the population aging out. We don't have the machinists who know how to operate the 1950 or 1960 machine, and all that information is going away. Actually, we're working with two different organizations who really do a great job in AI of grabbing that knowledge and making kind of digital twins, if you will, of those people. So it's interesting how the market does provide, and we do figure it out as humans.
Necessity is the mother of invention.
It is. So that's really cool. Another thing that when your former employee came to work with us, he brought up this concept of 2-second lean, and then you've brought it up to me a handful of times. And I admitted to you that I was listening to a book summary the other day while cutting the lawn, and my 2-second lean book summary, the last couple of minutes played in right at the end of my grass cutting there. And I haven't digested it fully. Would love for you as an expert or as a
practitioner,
a student and practitioner of it, that you would elaborate on it.
Sure. Yeah. So some quick context as well. If you flash back to everyone's favorite time, March of 2020, I was 2 months into the CEO role when sort of the world changed.
Yeah. Right? And I think that you must be pretty good at sarcasm, because that was not my favorite time. Just so
That's right. That's right. I remember thinking, I wonder if there's a return policy on this job. I wonder if I can go back to running operations and leave the hard stuff to Rob and Joel.
Yeah.
But seriously, that for all of us, right? We're nobody special. For all of us, that was incredibly disruptive through every lens you think of. How did it affect our business in particular? Is if you think about our business and managed print services, we primarily make money two ways. We sell product, hardware, software, licenses, et cetera. And we sell residual services, most often the clicks on a printed page. So, a penny a page, right? So that residual income is crucial for us. But what's required for people to be printing documents? They need to be at the printer, which is pretty much always located at the office. So this really dramatically, this event, I remember very much being in Bamboo, which is a co-working space in downtown Detroit with Rob and Joel. And it was deserted, and it was on a Sunday. And we were preparing for that next Monday for what I was going to tell the company, because essentially our revenue we projected was going to drop in half, not make its way down but from the prior Friday to the Monday, the state had then been put on lockdown.
Because your consumption.
Because the consumption, that's right. And we make our money, 75 to 80% of our revenue is on consumption. So it was overwhelming for sure. And you want to talk about wishing I was still a number two. There you go. There's a great moment. In retrospect, I wouldn't change a thing in there. But so why this set in this context is because it created the kind of this very acute, very crystal clear problem statement for us over the subsequent few months of this is creating more work for us, a lot more complexity. We have to deal with a lot of other issues in delivering our services to customers than ever before. But we are penny pitching. We definitely can't hire people. And we're trying not to burn people out in the process. So I went to other leaders in my network, both the networks you talked about, Tugboat, Small Giants, and others, as well as some peer leaders. Hey, how are you handling this? When I say peer leaders, I'm sorry, I mean industry peer, of course, right? That dimension. And as well as some folks on what I call my personal advisory board. And 3 different people in the span of 4 days who don't know each other gave me the same answer. You should check out this concept of 2-second lean. It's a pretty amazing way to help people, to empower people to create efficiencies on their own, especially when you can't just throw money at the problem and hire more people. And it sounds pretty culture aligned for you guys and values aligned for you guys. You really push that kind of always improving mentality down to your team and empower them to make improvements. It's part of your quarterly goal setting and all that kind of stuff. Like, okay, cool. So one thing led to another. I talked to companies who practice it. I engaged Paul Akers, who's sort of the author of it over at FastCap. And it really spoke to me. And so I thought this might be a way to actually, help people feel less out of control in a very, very scary time, and B, affect some positive change in ever so slightly every day, reducing the intensity of the workload, right? And so we installed 2-second lean into the organization after running a sort of a test of about 6 or 8 folks I knew would be honest with me. And they were like, there's something here. It is now, flash forward, it's become, I'm happy to describe kind of the tenets of it, but it's because we're now 6 years on, it's become a standard practice that includes every single morning, the whole team on a Teams call. We have a 10-minute meeting focused around leans. Everybody can spend 20 minutes in what we call lean and clean, fix what bugs you, work on something that annoys you. How you're working on how you do your work, not doing the work. Now the part of the job is improving how the work gets done. And it just creates more joy, more flow, more ease, less friction. And so we've ever so slowly been able to chip away. It has allowed us to optimize, right? Level people up, not have to replace certain roles along the way. So it's been really helpful for us.
Great. Well, why don't you go ahead and explain a little bit more? You offered it up. I'm gonna take you on that. So do you want to explain what one of those morning meetings sounds like? Yeah.
So we our version of 2-second lean, and it's called, I should say, 2-second lean, because it's built on that principle, like, little improvements. If you think of, we all have our devices here in this room, right? You hold up your cell phone. Someone didn't create that in a day. That was over thousands or millions of little improvements to create this thing that we have, right? And it's the same thing. The idea that just every day, if you can improve how your work gets done by 2 seconds, 3 seconds, 5 seconds, a minute, just think about the compounding effect of that over time. So that's the principle. The practice is really this cycle of noticing the 8 wastes, that's borrowed from what many here probably recognize as the lean waste from manufacturing, with transportation, inventory motion, overproduction, overprocessing, defects, wasted skills and expertise. And so what we do is we teach the team how to spot those wastes in the work that we're doing, in the work that they're doing. So there's a lot of education, a lot of teaching. We do that every day. We use our morning meeting to acknowledge and celebrate who's working on what leans every single day. We also lead our morning meeting with a couple minutes of gratitudes. So people come off mute. I'm grateful for Matt. I got to spend this wonderful hour with him, and so grateful for his curiosity and interest. And I'm grateful the sun is shining, or whatever it is, right? So we start our day with gratitude. We then go into those lean shares. And then we also go do a little section on team teaching. So we rotate that across the departments. What do you want the rest of the company to know about some piece of how your work gets done? Right? And so it's just that practice every single day. We do that. It's about a 12-minute meeting, a 13-minute meeting.
And it's all staff?
And it's all staff. And then we probably on any given day, there's probably have 3/4 of the company on there, something like that.
Okay.
And then
who runs it?
It rotates. So everybody takes a turn facilitating.
Oh, okay.
So
great.
There's also that, that's anxiety provoking for a lot of people. So it's an opportunity for folks to lean into that discomfort and in a safe space and get more and more comfortable with, leading and kind of that public speaking aspect. And then we go into our lean and clean time, the last 20 minutes.
Okay.
Just work on whatever bugs you. Work on it with your peers.
So how long's the whole conversation?
The whole 2-second lean daily practice is 35 minutes.
Okay. Got it.
Meeting, lean and clean.
Okay. So after the meeting is when the lean and clean is happening?
Yep.
Okay. So the meeting itself is only
12 minutes.
12 minutes.
Yep.
Got it. Okay.
Yep.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So give us like an example though of one of those just in your world, or make up one, if it's too private or whatever,
Sure.
But what's an example? Like whether it's
2-second lean?
Yeah.
Yeah. There's so many. Sometimes it's hard.
Well, I think you mentioned like transportation. You mentioned waste. You mentioned some other things.
So here's a good example. We a
rework, I think was one. I can't remember.
I remember one lean that a couple folks worked on. We get invoices through email from a number of suppliers every single day, right? And our AP team member would, for years, it's happening for years, every single day, take this email, take the PDF, right? Change the file name, open it, do a save as, change the file name to this discrete structure, date it, and so on. Place it over in this folder over here, and then take the email, right? Place it into a proper email folder over here. Takes 30 seconds, maybe a minute per every single day. 5, 6 minutes, 7 minutes every single day. Without even thinking, probably, one day she raised her hand on a call, like, this is actually annoying. There's got to be a better way. So flash forward, after a few lean and cleans, a couple of us helped out. There's now, and has been for years now, a Power Automate that runs. It does everything I described. It doesn't touch it. Doesn't even see the email.
So was it because she brought that up in a meeting? Then there was a techie guy or gal on the call who said, I could use this Power Automate script or whatever. Is that kind of how that evolved?
Yeah. In that example, yes. And that's exactly right. And it really starts from what bugs you. So the coaching we give to the team is start with what bugs you. Don't worry about memorizing these 8 wastes. And it's what bugs you. So I'd encourage you, if you think, Matt, today, like if you went through the day and just kept a little list on the sides, we'll encourage everyone to do. What bugged you today? right? It bugged me. I feel like that meeting was too long. I feel like that task seemed like a waste of my time. It bugs me that I enter this piece of information in system A, then I turn around, swivel my seat, and enter it in system B as well, manually, right? Like on and on and on. You can just you can make this list.
You don't even need the bobs from Office Space.
You don't even need the bobs from underneath those are wastes.
Okay.
What's bugging you is waste.
Tends to lead to a waste.
Leads to a waste. And so you don't need a head techie. You don't need, I heard, and I know this maybe sounds flippant, but this is a great example. One of the shares a couple of years ago, as an example, was a new team member who moved in the warehouse, who moved the trash receptacle that we used inside the warehouse for unboxing equipment, on its way out to the dumpster, just moved it to an area of the warehouse that was fewer steps for him from where he was actually doing the unboxing, right? He saved himself a lot more than 2 seconds a day doing that.
Sure.
That's a wonderful lane. But you might be like, well, that's moving a trash can, right? That's the point of 2 second lane. It is,
I love it.
It's simple. It's little improvements every single day.
It's so funny. What's coming up for me when you're talking about that was in my old organization, my brother and I were in the computer recycling business, and we were ISO 27001, whatever. And it was, I think it was 27001. I can't remember. Yeah. It doesn't matter.
9,000 maybe. Yeah.
The concept was that everything we did had to have some sort of process, especially with disposition of things. Now, there were certain things that, the way we disposed of a hard drive had to go through a real rigid set of steps so that you didn't accidentally let that hard drive go somewhere that it wasn't supposed to go, especially before it was wiped or shredded or whatever it was happening. But I remember things like inner office work. There would be, you would get dinged for a nonconformance because the person who wrote up the process wrote a process. And what happened was when you said the example of the garbage can, I've used this simple example. No, we didn't have the same problem, but it would essentially be, the process to throw away a piece of paper. Yep. Right. It is, you got to get up, walk over to the shredder, shred it, empty the shredder into the garbage can, whatever, 6-7 steps. Instead, the process really just needed to be written as securely dispose of the piece of paper.
Yep. That's right.
Right. And so then
the outcome,
whether you put it in the shredder first or whatever, you get where I'm going here.
Yeah, that's right.
My point is that we make ourselves tripwires, and then we inherit that tripwire. Like, let's say you weren't there when the thing got set up, or you got the nonconformance from the ISO inspector. So you then say, okay, well, now we're going to do it like this every time. And you're training people to do things that are all these extra steps for no reason. And you've just made all this waste.
Well, that's so true. Yeah. I mean, well, listen, we're human, right? So what are humans great at? We're great at overcomplicating things.
You betcha.
And we're great at,
like my story I just gave about the garbage can. I felt like I overcomplicated.
So that's kind of why I liked, why this resonated for me and for us, 2 second lean versus, let's say, some who might be listening might be thinking about, black belts and Six Sigmas and ISO, right? And procedure for procedure's sake and TPS reports and all that stuff. None of that exists in this, right? In this construct. Now, don't be mistaken. It's not the wild, wild west. There's definitely standardization.
You bet.
And that's an important part of eliminating waste, but it's standardization for the right purpose. It's not standardization, it's not process for process sake. And it helps get us out of the, that mindset of, well, that's the way we've always done it. And so one of the best things about our 2 second lean practice for me, right, having been here now for 8 years, is having new team members come in and experience this space where they can say, hey, I'm looking at such and such because there's a better way.
Yep.
And everybody else on the horn is like, that's how we've always done it. But this person doesn't come in with that. And so they see something that the rest of us don't see. And it's a joy. Yeah.
It's so funny how the human baggage, though, of that's the way we've always done it around here is just, it's so powerful.
It
right?
is.
It takes that new blood, or it takes a facilitated methodology to pull it out. Right. And otherwise we're just left to our own devices. And,
that's right,
and I know that I do inefficient things every single day.
Yep.
thank goodness that I do feel like the AI though does make us think. So it's been big, make us think differently. That's the way we've always done it around here.
It does.
So here's something else that I just kind of thought of as we're talking was you guys seem like a consultant's wet dream because you implement a lot of these different things that we all learn about, whether it's at Vistage or Small Giants or a peer group, but you guys do it. Now I'm saying there's still hundreds of others, right? Yeah. But you've picked all these and you've really stuck with them and really embedded them. And that's what I think is so cool about what you've done there.
Yeah. Thank you for that. I appreciate that. And maybe some of it's, a lot of it is I'm sure Rob and Joel also, my background as a consultant and change agent doesn't maybe scare me, right? I'm not as married to the status quo. And I think that cascades down, especially to our leadership group. And I will say there are pillars, right? Practices such as 2-second lean, open book finance, separate EOS.
Yep.
There are these pillars that are sort of tried and true, but what we try to do is we try to stay creative and innovative within those frameworks. Right?
Yeah.
So, what we don't want to be is that organization that's chasing the cool, shiny object of the new whiz bang.
And I think that's almost what somebody could almost assume if they weren't really listening intently to what you're saying. And I think that's the piece where I was going, hey, this sounds like, but I know it's not.
Yeah.
It's right. These are tried and true methodologies.
Because what I'm not sharing is the year and a half that before we, implemented 2-second lean across the company, that we did these very small stair step each time with a ripcord. If this isn't something we're long-term committed to, pulling it out before we sort of fully rolled it out. And with our IO Automate, division, that kind of a startup you referenced earlier, the 2.5-3 years leading into that decision of all the things that we explored and passed on. So you're not kind of seeing the front end of, right, it's right. It's not impulsive. None of this is impulsive. It's it's all very intentional.
Now let me ask you this.
Yeah.
It sounds like some of it may start off, the word wouldn't be impulsive, but it would be open.
Yep.
Because you say, we will try these things and then we'll pull the ripcord on it if we need to.
Run the experiment.
And so I find that there's often a tension between the visionary or the person willing to think like that and sometimes the rest of the organization, or sometimes the integrator side, versus the visionary. How are you guys managing that tension? Is it from, and maybe I'm leading the witness here.
That's okay.
Is it from the fact that they've seen that you will pull the ripcord if it doesn't prove out in a short period of time? Is it because you run little micro experiments and you don't shove it out to the whole organization? Like, how are you doing that to make sure that it's not like, oh, here comes Rob and Josh and Joel with one of their crazy ideas
for the rest of the team?
For the rest of the team, where they're rolling their eyes, and then you don't get that that buy-in.
Yeah. Well, I like to think they're not, although we should get them on the phone. You can ask them and find out. Maybe
they're all rolling their eyes right now.
Maybe that's right. That's right. It's a good question. So I think there's no perfect answer, but what I will say is I definitely think that your point about seeing us run experiments and not necessarily bring those to fruition if we didn't like what we saw helps. I think also pouring constantly into an environment where people can feel safe and trusted to, express their excitement about an experiment or an idea or something we're trying, express their concern, right? Give their suggestions and so on. I think increases the sort of energetic and mental load that people are willing to carry, or the amount of different things we might be trying, because they have agency and input and know that it's not super top down. And ultimately, I do think, I'll lean on the 5 dysfunctions of a team. It really, the trust, we invest every single day in the trust of our team, to trust the decisions we're making, how we're making decisions.
Sure.
And a lot of that is through transparency. Doesn't mean we have all the answers. I get in front of the company often and say, I don't know where this is headed. I don't know what's going to come next.
Sure.
But I think that honesty, that transparency, and the opportunity to have input means that the things that we do try tend to, I think, have more tailwind than maybe in a more top-down organization, if that makes sense. where you would probably have more eye rolls of like, all right, keep your head down. This too shall pass. Right. And they'll be on the next thing.
Yeah.
My 2 cents. I don't know if I'm right.
No, I mean, it makes logical sense.
Yeah.
It would be fun to ask a couple of the employees and see. So maybe what they'll do is if they watch this, they'll comment and they'll say,
there we go. Perfect.
So we can hope for some social content to come back on that. The last thing I do want to ask about on the business side, and then I really would love for you to talk a little bit about your family and stuff too, because I was remiss in not asking that early on, is this open book finance. So another level of transparency. Mm-hmm. Again, a lot of people talk about it. Mm-hmm. And then I know that I've talked about it, and I don't have it implemented to the level that you guys have. We've started to get better, but you've talked about this being quite a practice for you. Yep. So let's talk about that and talk about how deep do you go when you're allowing people.
How open is open.
How open is open.
That's right. Yeah, that. Perfect. So let me start with kind of how it came to be real briefly, just some context. So if you flash back to 2013, 2014 timeframe, as Rob and Joel will tell it, the company was for its first year facing the potential of actually losing money for the year. Right. And at that point, they were traditional, not open book finance.
Okay.
And for several years prior, if you remember my earlier comments, we've been part of Small Giants, and Rob was close with Bo Burlingham, who wrote the book. And Bo kept encouraging Rob and Joel to meet Jack Stack, who was the author of Great Game of Business.
Yeah.
Bob and Jack were close. And Rob, kept telling Jack, listen,
which one of the guys was the one that worked in the spring company?
Jack
was.
Stack, yep.
Okay, got it.
And so, Jack's, listen, you should really consider this, Rob. Oh, no. Or, we're different. We're not ready for that, or whatever kind of, and Jack would say, okay, I hear it all the time, next year and the next year. And finally, I think Rob and Joel were at this point where they're back to my sort of half joke about being an entrepreneur and like kind of the lonely moments. They're trying to figure out how to solve this quandary, this really complicated situation they haven't been in before with the company themselves, right? With all the rest of the company left sort of unawares. And so that sounds like that was sort of if you think about it, the way I'm describing it, it sounds probably to those listening, like that was sort of that catalytic moment of, okay, let's reconsider this open book finance. Mm-hmm. So they brought the organization in and kind of said, this is what we're facing. And ended up seeing a lot of folks step up in ways that they could contribute through their choices, their decisions, their solutions, their efforts, changes, et cetera, contribute in a positive way to the financial outcome. Ended up making money that year in the end, and have been writing that open book finance program ever since.
Right.
So that's the context of how it came to be one of our pillars. The way we deploy it, to kind of your second question, how open is open? Well, we don't show everybody's salaries, which is oftentimes a question we get, although I do know many companies who do. Mm-hmm. We don't do that. We do present to the company every month of our full financials, P&L, balance sheet, cash flow, kind of the three statements. Mm-hmm. We do admittedly simplify it to love. Not everybody in that room is a finance major. And so we sort of simplify it, right? Everyone can ask any question they want. We will dive down into account level details, things like, why was our parts COGS higher than normal? Let's talk about that. Well, it looks like we did a lot of next day air on that. And that really jacked up kind of our COGS by a couple of points. Mm-hmm. So we want to be mindful of that. We definitely want to serve the customer, but let's make sure we're making good decisions of when we next day air versus when we ship ground. Like, that's just a simple practical example of how this kind of can play out for the team. The last point I'll make is we overlay this all with a lot of education. We can show any numbers. You could show all your financials today to the team. And if you're not investing in educating them on how to read a financial statement, their financial literacy, getting them comfortable with a concept that's generally pretty nervous making for folks, which is financials, they'll just glaze over.
Or they'll make their own decisions.
Or they'll make bad assumptions.
Bad assumptions on what these numbers mean. Yep.
Generally speaking, I think that, it's my opinion, that I think the vast majority of employees at companies who are not open book finance assume their owner is making a lot more than they actually are. And assume the owner is taking a lot less risk than they actually are in the process.
Sure.
So open book finance allows us to dispel bad assumptions or bad stories, replace them with better ones that are fact-based, and teach people also skills that they can use in their own lives, for their own P&Ls, for their own balance sheet, for their own financial decisions, which is really powerful.
That's fantastic.
So that's how we've been doing. We've been doing it ever since.
I like how the concept just seems to build on itself of the 2-second lean plus open book selling seems to be probably quite a creative.
Open book finance. Yeah.
Yeah. What did I say?
Open book selling.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. We don't share with our prospects our costs.
Yeah, okay.
We don't
Open book selling was actually a company that Catherine Baker, our president, had run, co-founded, called Open Book Selling, and it was just a selling concept to be, it was like a fractional chief marketing officer type of business.
Yep.
So I digress.
So yeah.
Open book.
Finance. Great game of business.
Great game of business.
Is the program that we run. Yep. And,
okay. We'll put a couple links that in the show notes here. But bring it in for a landing. Let's talk about personal life. Let's talk about these 15-year-old dogs of yours and your kids and your wife and everything. Tell us a little bit about
Yep. The dogs are sleeping somewhere right now. Yep. They just go from one nap to the other. So the quick scoop. Hopefully it won't bore you guys too much. So as I mentioned, I went to Northwestern. I grew up in Southern Indiana. I went to Northwestern University in Evanston, Illinois. It's where I met my wife. We were both students there. Chicago for a number of years, kind of doing the rat race thing, as I describe it, before moving out here to Michigan, kind of on a lark. We didn't want to go to the Chicago suburbs. We wanted to try something new. We had some family that had transplanted out here, but we're not from here. We don't have roots here.
Okay.
Neither of us. She's from Connecticut and I'm from Southern Indiana, as I mentioned. We moved out here in 2007, figuring out if we don't like it, we can move back to Chicago, and we've been here ever since. I've got a 14-year-old in 8th grade. He's active in everything, and I want to be him when I grow up. He's happy to walk into any room of strangers and shake hands and get to know you. And he's happy to try anything, no matter how bad he may be at it, to start. And I think that's a wonderful trait that he gets from his mom. And he's amazing. And then I have a 12-year-old. She's I call her our gym rat. She's in competitive gymnastics, 18 plus hours a week. Just really passionate about that and love watching her blossom there. And then my youngest, she is 8, sharp elbows, as you kind of have to be, I think, as a third kid. So she loves to roughhouse. She loves the contact. She's a participator in everything as well. Very chatty, and it's an absolute blessing. They are my hobby, if you will. Everybody asks, what do you do for your free time? That is my free time. I love it. And they help keep me grounded for sure. So wife and I have been together about 25 years or so. And that's the crew.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
Full life.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah. It's gone by very fast already. I remember when they were all born. I'm sure every parent would agree with that. And they all told me at the time, this will go by fast. And
you couldn't have believed it.
Wouldn't believe it. 72 straight hours with no sleep. There's no way this is crawling, but yet here we are.
Wow.
The days take a long time, but the years go by in a blip. I've come to learn. Yeah.
Oh, good stuff. Well, you're a fascinating guy doing some really great things, and just so happy that we did this together.
Well, I appreciate you. Thank you so much. Our paths, both personally and professionally within our organizations, have crossed many times. I really believe there's a reason for that.
I do too.
We're trying to make this a similar dent in the world and for people and for those we serve in our communities. And needs to be more organizations like you guys. And we love working with you.
Great. Well, thanks.
Thanks
for being here.
Appreciate you.
This episode of the BLTNT podcast is sponsored by Auxium, business IT and cybersecurity designed to outsmart chaos. And powered by Juniper Networks. Automate your network with Juniper Networks and the Mist AI platform, the world's first AI-driven wired and wireless network.